Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yep, that's me. Good to be here with you. It is a Tuesday, and that means something. Let me see if I can recall. It's July 30th, too. That gives me another hint because July 31st is my sister's birthday, and I think she's here. Suze.
Yes, this little old woman is here.
Getting older.
I don't know. Yesterday, I started out my training session by doing 10 regular push-ups, 10 modified push-ups, and then 10 negative push-ups. And then I started my workout. So I'm just here to say that I'm in better shape than I was when I was 40.
Yeah, isn't that weird? In some respects, even though I'm in terrible shape, in some respects, I'm in better shape. You know, if you just keep working it, and God knows you are. My God, I couldn't do a push-up if my life depended. I can do a modified push-up, but I can't do a real one. Anyway, a happy early birthday, Suze.
Thank you. Thank you.
And good to have you back. Good to be back in the saddle again.
I know I've been railing in all these alternative mediums because, media, I guess I should say, because yes. My outlet was taken away.
Oh, well, here's your outlet.
And it was exciting times when you decided to disappear. It was exciting times.
You know, it's bizarre, but I have a knack. I have a knack for every time I do, like, disappear for a while, big stuff happens. So it seemed fairly obvious that some big stuff would be happening, but
but I do want to tell everybody that as I was speaking, I was speaking to you while you were otherwise incommunicado.
Yeah.
And when the conversation accidentally veered towards the political, you said, absolutely not. Stop it. I'm hanging up.
No, really.
It's almost impossible not to talk about it, especially then. But anyway.
Well, I'm still inclined to do that a bit. I was with some people the other night and they started up, oh gosh, oh this. And I said, you know what? I cannot continue to let this intrude on my enjoyment of my life. It does not mean that I'm not paying attention and can't get serious when I
or don't have concern.
Right. But
you know, I don't know. I'm just on the whole, I feel far better about the general state of things than I did before you left.
Yeah.
And I do think that, I'm sure you've said this, that it was rather brilliantly handled, and that he harnessed all of that negativity and brought it to a nice, just below a full boil. Then he left, and all of that steam was released and pushed Kamala out there in such an effective way.
Now I have to tell you,
genius.
I think what you're saying is correct, but I don't know if that was in fact his intent. I think it took him that long to come to terms with
whether he intended it or not, whether it was intentional or not, his timing was impeccable. Yeah. Couldn't have been better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it all just worked so beautifully, avoiding, the cacophony of a convention that was unsettled. And I have to say, behind all of this maneuvering, I think there's one hand that we need to acknowledge, and that's Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, of course.
Nancy Pelosi is
The mother of our country.
She is. She is the one who, first of all, nobody crosses her. She has incredible standing and respect, and it is she who gave everybody else the nod that it was okay to join the campaign to start to coax or pressure the president to step down. I think without her heft, I don't know that that would have happened. And then her immediate endorsement of Harris also alerted the party, hey, this is how we play this. I really think
right.
that
We
Pelosi,
unite now. Everybody shuts up. We unite and we send her off. Yes, I'm sure she did that.
Yeah, Pelosi is the invisible hand, the genius here, and Frank Bruni in a piece acknowledged that, and acknowledged also that it is. He says it's like a Hollywood movie because women are pretty much deciding what's going to happen to Donald Trump. Women who he has treated with such contempt and cruelty.
Well,
yeah, no, he starts with
that's
Pelosi.
the whole point to karma. I mean, what you create comes around and bites you in the ass. That's it.
Well, there you go. Pelosi, who has taken on Trump, took him on as Speaker of the House when he was president. Pelosi, who made clear that it would be another woman who would lead the campaign to prevent him from becoming president again. And then think of all the women who have led the charge to hold him accountable, from the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, to Fani Willis, to Jeanne Carroll having the courage to come forward, to her amazing attorney, Roberta Kaplan, to Stormy Daniels. All of those women took him on. Very few men were anywhere to be seen.
No, the men were all cowering and kissing his feet.
Well, I just want to say, and now the expectation is that women must once again save the day and make sure that he does not regain office.
Yeah, it is unclear to me why a lot of men want women to be their enemies. You know, I don't understand any other way to put that. I mean,
but that's not what they think. If
someone walks into your room and says, "I am now going to dominate you, and you will bow down and do as I say," in what world is that ever attractive to anybody?
Mm-hmm. Well, it is attractive to a lot of.
Yeah, it is attractive to a bunch of people that don't know how to live their lives,
to some women who have been, I guess conditioned into not having
schooled into submission.
Yeah. But no, as an election strategy in a national election in the year 2024, I don't think it's a real good one.
No. Those suburban women they're so afraid of.
Yeah.
You know?
And so here's, they don't know they still haven't figured out how to take her on. So they go after her laugh. Again, a woman's laugh. They did that to Hillary, to her laugh.
No, women aren't supposed to laugh. And if they don't laugh, then they're humorless bitches. I mean, there is no way to, all I'm saying to people that bring up any of this is get over it. Look at the orange person. Look, look what everybody just takes from him, from his stupid hair to his pot belly to his teeny hands. We do all of that stuff too. It's, just ignore that noise.
Yeah. So,
because we've got someone that can compete. She just looks, all she has to do, he opens his mouth and all she has to do is respond in something that isn't word salad, and she wins.
And then the miscalculation of picking JD Vance, who out-Trumps Trump in some respects in his...
The one time he listens to his kid.
Oh, was that Don Jr.'s?
That was Johnny Jr.'s pick, yeah. They're good pals.
Okay, so there's, JD Vance, the cat ladies thing. And
not only that, but he's just, I know that other people are saying that Donnie's too old. He's just too young. He hasn't lived long enough to know enough about anything. I don't care where he went to school. He's just a punk.
Who are we talking about?
He's an ego. We're talking about JD Vance. He's 39.
Well, there's some 39-year-olds who are capable. It's the vice presidency.
Yeah. Well, Pete Buttigieg, when he started out, was young too, but he had world experience, lots of it.
I don't know. I don't know the age thing, but well,
I wouldn't bring it up if he weren't acting like, an unschooled in the real world punk.
Well, he's, this idea of he's gone after, women's labs,
cat ladies,
women's cats, women's choices. They're all to be somehow mocked or called into question. Vance, in that remark he made about the cats, I think that's the time he also went on to suggest that childless women should not necessarily have a vote, or at least a weighted vote, because they had no stake in the future. And then, as if that wasn't enough...
What about childless men?
Yeah. And if that isn't enough, he goes on to say, that parents should perhaps, and he was just, opining, and maybe parents should get an extra vote for each child they have.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and I want to vote for each one of the eggs.
Oh, yes, because they're children. Wait a minute. Embryos.
And all the eggs that my daughter, that I produced, and all of the eggs that her daughter, I want them all to be my votes because they all originated with me. I know that's a little heavy biology for this time of the morning, but that would be true. Life can't start without my egg.
It's just unbelievable. Did you see how Doug Emhoff, his Kamala's husband, his first wife, the mother,
yes, I did. I love that.
Came out and said this to JD Vance. For over 10 years, since Cole and Ella, those are the kids, were teenagers, Kamala has been a co-parent with Doug and me. She is loving, nurturing, fiercely protective, and always present. I love our blended family and am grateful to have her in it.
Yeah, we all know how often a sincere statement of love and support is forthcoming from the first wife.
But that is clearly true.
That's clearly how she feels, and it's how the kids feel. You can see that.
I do want to say I took a little issue with the fact I cleaned it up. She said has been a co-parent with Doug and I. And I'm thinking,
I know, and you couldn't stand it.
Say, no,
I have this too.
doesn't mean.
There are two things that really get me. Yes, the overuse of I to make yourself sound educated and classier, and you're just wrong. And the other one is the refusal, and I know this one is snooty. The refusal to use the subjunctive tense with the word if. It's not if I was, it's if I were.
Yeah. Well, but Susan, see that kind of, I have to tell you that even, linguists say, give it up.
I know, cross their eyes at it. I cross my eyes at it, but doesn't it sound better if I were?
It does, because it does if you know it. And then it does raise, it's true. I mean, so that's.
If I were just older,
I'm sorry.
I'd know better.
So,
if I were just younger, I'd feel better.
If you hadn't paid attention, so much attention in English class when they were teaching this stuff, you'd be a happier person. So.
I was fascinated by it. That's part of it. I mean, I just thought, far out. Okay.
So I also noted.
Well, if you don't care about was, were, then you have to give up on I, me, because it's the same stuff.
No, I know it is the same stuff. I agree. I mean, I've got a lot of them. A big one for me is how the lovely three-letter word "few" is absolutely it's dying. It's an endangered species, and it's been replaced by less, fewer, and less.
Yeah.
And
there was a point. PHEW and just means whoa.
Well, it's just there really were rules about when you would use fewer and when you would use less. And obviously,
right.
I mean, I even see that in very educated people. If it's a quantity of something, you'd say it's fewer. It's not less. Ugh! But it doesn't matter. So, I just want to put in.
Wait a minute. One more. There's anxious when you mean eager.
Yeah, that finally got through to me. Actually, my son jokes about that all the time. He'll say, "I'm so eager," because nobody says eager.
No, but anxious doesn't mean eager. It means you're nervous.
Okay, so I did want to get in this quote from none other than Meghan McCain, who is a conservative Republican who was.
Yeah, she's gotten nastier too. She used to be this sort of nice person, and she's just nasty now.
No, I disagree. Never, ever.
She was always nasty.
I don't know about nasty. I just didn't like her at all, and just bleh. Anyway. She freaked at the Catwoman comments. And she said this: "I've been trying to warn every conservative man I know that these comments have caused real pain and are just innately unchristian. This is not who we are." I want to say this. Every time someone says this is not who we are, the odds are it is.
That's who you are.
I was saying that the other day when Biden said after the assassination attempt, this is not who we are. And I'm thinking,
oh, no, well, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It happens every day.
So, hey, we've got a caller here. Let me let him in. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Pat.
Hi, is it Pat? Pat.
Yes.
When I was talking, can I define you a little more clearly? This is Patricia Pratis Jennings, who was for how many years, Pat?
Hey, Pat. Hi.
For how many years?
Happy birthday.
Was the 40 years the keyboardist. Is that the right word for?
Yeah, that'll work. That's
for
fine.
the Pittsburgh Symphony, and one of the first black musicians to have that position in the in a major symphony.
Do a lot of things.
So this is
But
Pat
I
Jennings.
called today,
Pat, I just have to
Go
say
ahead,
that when
Pat.
I was talking, when Susan and I were talking about this stuff, I was in the back of my head thinking, Pat's going to, because you are more
to
of a
weigh
stickler.
in.
Yeah, you're more of a
Yeah, I
stickler.
really am. And the thing that I wrote, I didn't send it because I thought, well, it sounds crazy. But the word electoral is not electoral, it's electoral.
Right.
But nobody says electoral.
Who said?
But election, electoral. Electric, electoral.
Does
That's how I feel about empathy and empathic versus empathetic. What's that?
Oh,
Well, aren't those two different things? I don't know. But all the language is just going nuts. I mean, all of these ats. Where is he at? I don't know where he's at. We don't need the at. And when we were growing up, the teacher would say, behind that at. Yeah, okay,
is where he's going, right?
So many things that people just have no regard for the language whatsoever. The whole business of, the gerund business, when I say my going to school rather than me going to school.
Right.
There are all those, anyway, I mainly called to say hello and to talk about electoral, which is so elegant sounding.
Well, that's my problem with all this. The right way sounds more elegant.
Hey, Pat, I do think I say electoral. I say electoral.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay,
Go,
I'll
Pat.
try not to.
Well, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Even Lynn Cheney's book, which I have in my iPad, she just says electoral.
Yeah.
So people, I think, don't know, and perhaps when something is used enough, it becomes standard, and I should quit fussing about it.
That's anyway, right. It's a losing battle, and think of all the chemicals your brain is releasing that cause you stress because of this. It's not. Let it go.
Listen, I didn't call to stay on. I just wanted to mention electoral.
Electoral. I'll try. Listening. Great to hear from you, Pat.
Cheers to.
I'm sending you a hug and a kiss. Good to hear your voice, Pat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Oh, that was a treat. That's a treat.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. I mean, she has recorded with the greats. Andre Previn just adored her, and they did some, a bunch of CDs together.
Yeah, she's played my piano.
Yeah, she's amazing, just amazing.
I felt happy for my piano that it got to have music made.
Yeah, really. Okay, so all of us, biddies, it's often women that get into this. I must say. I've got. We'll get off the subject. I do want to. I want to say this. This is the funniest. You know how when they put legislation in now, they have to name it, and they often, come up with these absurd.
Do they name it the exact opposite of contempt? Right. Like the right to work law is the prohibition of union.
Yes, right. That
stuff. So right,
but
it's right. It's the right to mistreat your workers law, right?
But this one this one is not that. Here is the title of the proposed law. It's called the Dismantling Outdated Obstacles and Barriers to Individual Employment Act. And if you take those first letters, you get Doobie Act. A doobie, for those of you who are not in the know, is a joint, marijuana. It's pot. And this is a real bill. The senator from Minnesota, Gary Peters, introduced this bill, and it is intended to stop federal agencies from disqualifying any job applicant because of prior marijuana use and or, having been grabbed by the law for marijuana use. And it's called the Doobie Act. But the acronym actually makes sense of what its intent is.
It's the correct. It's the correct acronym. So maybe they picked the name so they could get the acronym.
Well, I don't know. Well, they said, what can we do with Doobie? Right. Dismantling outdated obstacles and barriers to individual employment. There it is. And that says exactly what the law's intent, in fact, is. Okay, let's see. Hang on there. I'm just getting myself a little organized here. So, Susan, we've talked about Kamala a bit. The other big subject everybody keeps, every time I bump into somebody, it's, who do you think
should be the vice president?
Right.
I want your guy to stay in Pennsylvania because I think we need him there to steer Pennsylvania and have the good effect he's having there. So as much as I like your guy, I think he should stay there. I'm actually a Mark Kelly girl.
Well, I mentioned yesterday that the Washington Post had this, you answered a bunch of questions and then they told you who that meant.
Who you wanted.
Yeah, and
right.
I turned out to be a Mark Kelly girl too.
Well, I have a lot of reasons. I think I'm not sure he can maintain his seat anyway. I think that he appeals to a wide swath of people. I mean, he's military, he's an astronaut. His wife is a true victim of gun violence. And he's just an all-around good guy. There's just not anything bad you can say about him. He's smart, qualified. Let's go there.
But wait a minute, Susan. If you say the big drawback for him is that he then opens up.
He can't carry hhis own state.
He opens up a Senate seat when we need desperately.
That's a problem with a lot of these guys.
Okay, but
I know.
No, it's not for the governors, but it is for him as the senator. And if you're suggesting another reason is he might be able to help pull Arizona.
And I'm not sure he can even carry it for himself.
Yeah, which I disagree with. I think he will carry Arizona. But yeah, boy, I don't like to gamble. I've said that millions of times. And
no, but if Pritzker does nothing, there's no reason to do that.
No, Pritzker can't. He has nothing to offer because Illinois is in the bag. And Brashear in Kentucky is an interesting guy. Buttigieg, I don't know why you're down on Shapiro. Is it because he's
I'm not down on him. I like him.
Is it because
I like him? I just think he's more useful in Pennsylvania.
Well, they're all useful where they are because they're all doing a hell of a good job. I don't know.
And I like Buttigieg too. It's too scary.
Yeah,
but I think he's more than qualified.
Yeah. So, yike. So here's the thing. I quoted Yogi Berra the other day. It's hard to predict things, especially the future.
Right.
So we don't know. Here's the good news.
Well,
here's the good news. We've got.
There isn't a bad choice.
No, there's not. All of them are really qualified, capable, good.
There's a lot. The Democrats have a deep bench if they weren't so self-hating.
Yeah.
It was like the day after they put Kamala emerged as the candidate, and I'm listening to NPR driving back from my daughter's suburban home to my city home, and I'm listening to three young clearly white men explain, each of them, why she's a bad choice. And then every once in a while, there was a little faint praise. That wasn't a bad speech she gave, but she did. And really, and then I'm watching them interview a bunch of students in Madison. And the two that they interview first are two young white men who just go, I wish we would have had a chance to look at other people. And I'm thinking, they don't even know that their problem with her is that she's a her.
Well, you don't know that either, Susan.
Well, I sure feel like that's what it is. It comes from one segment most profoundly.
Well, I did see something really disquieting, and that was that young men, I think it was young white men, aged, 20 to 24 or something, are in the bag for Trump.
Jeez.
And that goes into this whole thing of young white men feeling like there's no place for them, like they're given no respect. It's not their time.
Well, I don't understand this. It's because they perceive as not being gifted automatic.
I know.
Up.
I know.
As people being against them, when all we're saying is you're no better than and no worse off than anybody else. Get to work.
Right. But the whole culture, it's like I felt blindsided, having been brought up to be, a wife and mother, never to think of a career. And then bango, that opportunity opened and you don't know what the hell. That's at least an opportunity as opposed to what they perceive as having happened to them, which is
suddenly they have competition.
And something was taken from them, an easier road. And then they hear all of this, negative talk about men and white men and privilege, and they're young, and I don't know if they know how to process it. I mean, that's why
Well, that's the other thing that I was going to say. If, not to sound like good old JD Vance or whatever his name is, he could change it again. He's changed it several times. What JD Vance, perhaps because we know that young men's brains mature at a slower rate, perhaps the voting age for young men should be 30.
All right.
No, I don't like even, my son's a white man. My grandson's going to grow up to be a young white man. And I do not put them they are, excuse the expression, fairly woke people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they also don't feel discriminated against.
No.
And they understand that of the two groups, men and women, the only ones that have lost something are women, who lost a constitutional right. They can't point to anything they lost.
Yeah.
Except a step up. It's,
we get it.
It's a bitter pill to swallow, but, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you should be able to compete just fine. And then you feel better about yourself when you do it without the leg up.
I mean, 60% of college undergraduates now are women.
Because it seems because if men actually have to compete, they sit down and go home.
Well, there's actually, unbeknownst and under the radar, kind of affirmative action going on in college entrance.
There has been for a long time. That for two decades. When my son went to college, he picked a small liberal arts Midwestern college, And without even asking for it, he was given a partial scholarship because he was going to that small liberal arts college and he was male. They wanted men. So
we got
that's
another
been a
caller
long time
here.
coming.
Suze, we got a caller. I'm just going to let this
Good.
person in. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
The problem is suburban moms, the father's always a problem, but the suburban moms are saying, my poor son, it's just not fair anymore. The problem is it's getting more fair for women and minorities.
Right.
And he's young men. I mean, it was so much easier for me. I'm 62, but it is getting harder. That's not because it's not because as a white guy you're being disenfranchised or somebody's discriminating. It's just that other people have more of a chance. So your competition increased. So what we're seeing is these I'll call them boys. They're 30 years old. I call them boys if they're still living in their basements and whining and they don't have a girlfriend or whatever. And it's just for me, and they're living in this weird, internet phase where now they have, so they just feel they're not connected to anybody, and especially with reality, and moms have to bear a lot of brunt of it, especially in the suburbs, because most of them are stay-at-home moms, and they're saying, "Well, my poor son," and the girls are kicking their ass in school and at work, and still the girls, I'm saying girls, they have to work harder, so they've always had to work harder, so they're just. Yeah, that's where that comes in. I mean, really. I mean, my wife's interior designer. She's out in crazy places like Treesdale and stuff, and she hears it in these kids. My Ivy League educated son has got it so hard. Boo-hoo. Growing up in these, $1 million houses. Like, oh, it makes you want to puke. So.
Well, I was thinking that
if you've never had to compete before,
no,
I guess it's shocking.
It occurs to me that it's well known that parents expect more from their daughters. In other words, daughters are asked to do generally more help in help
Daughters
their mothers.
Grow up tougher.
So they grow up, understanding that things are expected of them, and they have it's just known. I mean, studies have been done that we raise our boys to not be as I don't know, hardworking.
We coddle our boys and challenge the girls.
That's right.
It's just my sisters are so much more resilient than me and my brother, and I had to work at it because I walked on water. I was the first son, even though after 5 girls I walked on water. So it's what our society does, and I see my sisters do the same thing, and my nieces do the same thing. We got to break that trend. I have a question for you, both of you.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess Kamala is calling a lot of things out as using the word weird a lot.
Yeah, no, that's something that's come. Weird is the word now. They've all decided for Trump.
But it seems to be working, maybe.
I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't get it.
And it's like, and it's just like, and it's like that's just a word, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. And
I think it's a word that draws attention to the behavior without putting the person that's hearing it in a defensive position. Just ask them to consider the behavior. If you say it's weird, then you go, is it? And you consider the behavior. If you say that's dumb and nasty and disgusting, they just go, no, it's not.
So maybe they think, I think so. Yeah,
it's working. I think it's an invitation to consider the behavior.
I like it.
I like it too.
You know.
Hey, I got another caller here. Got to get in. Got to. Well,
All right, welcome back.
thank
I
you.
agree with you.
Thank you. Good to hear from you.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye, Roger. And here our new caller. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, barely.
I wanted to say,
Barely.
I always want to say, poor babies, they could be getting drafted to go to World War II and fight. I mean, come on, put some things in perspective, people.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that would be the best. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's just think about it, guys.
Toughen up.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Well said.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. I just want to I want to throw in I thought a good quote from Robert Reich talking about Kamala and how Trump is already, he gives monikers out to what's the word, to degrade people and to lie in this and
right.
cheat in that. And he's already doing this laughing Kamala or laughing Kamala. I mean, he refuses to pronounce her name.
He can't pronounce her name.
I
read this morning, someone says she should call him Don Old.
Here's another one I heard in response to that. It was supposedly something that her husband said, which is, "Hey, Don Old, if you're having trouble pronouncing my wife's name, just refer to her as Madam President."
I like Doug.
Yeah. So Robert Reich says, in regard to this going after her laugh, he says, and this is so true, laughter is based on connection. You laugh with other people. TV sitcoms had laugh tracks because it was easier for viewers then to laugh along with everyone else, even imaginary people. Laughing together is one of the most important signs of our humanity. Now contrast that with Trump, who never laughs. He laughs at. He doesn't laugh with. And that's absolutely on the money. I dare anyone to find video of him actually laughing with. Seriously.
No, if it would be with a sneer. But I mean, this is the problem with his whole style with this particular candidate. It's much easier to compare and contrast with Kamala than it was with Joe. You couldn't hear Joe's message because of all the other noise. This, when they throw that out, all you do is you get to reply with a very nice, completely accurate sales pitch.
Yep.
And by the way, making the other person appear far smaller for beginning the argument.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a failing thing. I don't see how it can win. And I find that it's also extremely energizing. I mean, have you been on any of these calls? I was on there was a call last night with coming out of New York that I was invited to be on. And I'm telling you, women are organizing.
Mm-hmm. No, I know.
and they're organizing up ballot and down ballot. because it's gone far enough.
I have a little get together at my house this
Yeah.
week with one of the delegates to the convention and some smart women. And we're just going to do some thinking about what we can do. Yeah. Organizing. And
How we can all be more effective, magnify our voices, and encourage people to vote. It is just so terribly important, and we'd all be surprised at how many people that we assume are just voting somehow don't get around to it.
So I don't know, Suze, I want to just change the subject because time's running out on us. You've been watching the Olympics at all?
Oh, of course. I've been thoroughly submersing myself in them.
Well, I was just blown away last night watching the men's gymnastics.
Yeah, I watched
because
it yesterday
they got
morning.
Simone Biles and the girls have absolutely, sucked the air out of the room when it comes to, and because they've been getting medals.
Because they've had such a long losing streak. Men.
And then the men, I watched, actually I watched it in real time. I watched it yesterday afternoon. And
yeah, me too.
I have to point out that, there's 5 people on the team. It was for the team medal. And 4 of the 5 were doing, 3 players have to do each 3, I don't know what you call them, 3 whatever, have to do
participants, yes.
Each instrument. That's not
each apparatus.
Apparatus, that's it. Each apparatus. And there were 4 doing all of them. Our 5th person was a guy from Penn State who doesn't look like an athlete. The few times you saw him, he was walking around with a backpack and glasses. And it turns out he's something very different. He knows only one apparatus. And
so he's a specialist.
He's a specialist.
Right.
They bring him in just for that one thing. And the one thing is the pommel horse. Well, the pommel horse, as it turns out, was the last apparatus for the Americans. And because the way you do it, the 3 people that are competing on your team, you do it from the worst to the best, that in terms of, I don't know why, but that's how. So this guy had to sit around throughout doing absolutely nothing until the very last minute. Somebody likened it to in a Super Bowl game where it comes down to the field goal kicker having to make, the goal to he's going to be either the hero or the GOAT. And so this guy comes in. He takes off his glasses at the very last minute and hands them to the coach, and then nails the routine. And he had to, and he got the team on, on the, what do you call it, Susan? I can't think of any of the names now.
You got him on the podium.
Thank you.
In 3rd place.
In 3rd place. But I want to tell you a little bit about this guy.
Besides that he does actually look like Clark Kent.
He looks like Clark Kent. When he takes his glasses off.
He's got this handsome, square jaw.
Yeah, he looks like Clark Kent. He takes his glasses off, and all of a sudden he doesn't look like a nerd. But the fact is, he is a nerd. And he does, to quiet his nerves, he does Rubik cubes. The Rubik Cube. And before he went on, he completed it in under 10 seconds. And he
said was a good omen.
A good omen. And it turns out he can't see. without those glasses. He has some strange disease in which his pupils
He's
are constantly dilated.
right, and so he's very light sensitive. When he was on TV this morning, he had to wear sunglasses, and they were explaining that they don't get smaller.
No, he can't. They don't. And so I mean, he was not recruited by any college. He called the coach at Penn State and said, "Hey, do you think I could?" And that was how he eventually got in. But so this nerdy, sweet guy who had to sit there, I can't imagine the nerves in that situation. And then he nails it. So the bespectacled Clark Kent from Penn State with his Rubik's Cube. And I love the story.
I'll tell you, watching those guys, though, I mean, on the rings, holding them steady, it's just so beautiful to watch. And they were all, and it was just a very lovely thing to see them as a team, supporting each other, loving each other. I just, and looking like America.
Yeah, it was every color of the rainbow.
The whole thing.
Yeah, I loved it.
The whole thing.
It was such a representation of the best of this country. And the power required for what those guys do is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So there's another mind-blowing thing. Have you seen the picture of the guy, the surfer? Have you seen that?
That's not AI, folks. And the surfer in the sky,
there's
perfectly
a picture,
upright.
If you haven't seen it, Google surfer picture. It does.
It'll come right up. Yeah.
And anyone looking at that would say, "What?
That's
it's impossible. It's impossible." It is.
Well, part of it is the positioning of his feet, because it looks like he's standing.
Yeah. He looks like he's standing in mid-air.
You think if you're in mid-air, if it were me, I would think that my feet would be slightly pointed, but his are, flexed. So it looks like he's standing up. His board is across the taut line, standing up next to him. And the picture is snapped with the waves behind them, and it's magnificent.
And he's like 10 feet off the surface of the water. So it's like, what? It doesn't make sense, but it is, in fact. And the photographer who took the picture is well schooled in shooting surfers, and this one in particular, because he knows this guy does this kind of thing. When he knows he's won, he does this thing at the end. I forgot where he called it, where he does that, Susan, where he stands in the air with his finger.
With his number one up.
And in fact, I guess what he did at one point was when he cleared, I don't understand any of it, the wave, he came up with both arms up and all 10 fingers up. Which was
he came out of the barrel of the wave with both arms stretched up and 10 fingers up, saying that deserves a 10.
That's a 10.
He got a 9-9.
Yeah, that's a 10.
He got a 9-9.
And he wins.
Then he kicked out over the wave, which sticks him in the air, and the photographer knew it would happen, and he took the picture at exactly the right moment, and that's how he got it.
But
look it up. It's really something.
It'll be. I mean, it's just mind blowing. So, Suze, I have to tell you a quick story. This is sort of not newsy, guys. Oh, wait a minute. We got some people coming in on email. Let me get this. Chuck writes, Lynn, Fox released this poll yesterday, and although it is just a favorability rating, it shows a very strong swing towards Harris. That said, in picking a vice president, according to the poll, you would pick someone who would help you win either Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, where the race is likely to be closest. I don't think she has anyone from Wisconsin on her short list. No, the governor there's a good guy, but he's not
and Wisconsin is actually polling up for Trump.
Yeah.
Up
No,
for Biden,
for
Harris, whoever our candidate is.
yeah.
Democrats. I don't even care. I'm just voting D, you know.
Okay, so this is Beth. Just want to get this in. Out in public with friends and family, we just need to keep saying the slogan, "We're not going back." I wish the DNC would put out T-shirts with various sayings. We are not going back. That means we are not going back in the closet. We are not going back using coat hangers. We are not going back to poor wages. We are not going back to pre-existing conditions. We are just not going back. Harris in 24.
That's good.
That's good,
Keep
Beth.
up the energy.
That's good, Beth. Okay, so now here's something I want to share with you. I don't know if I told this story, but I have a memory of there was a tailor in Green Bay. He was a Holocaust survivor, Art Lichtenstein. Susan, his tailor shop
Right.
was across from Bossy's, you know, where the magazines and newspapers
Right.
are.
Yes.
And I have a memory. I feel like I told this story recently on the show, and I'm sorry if I did, but there's a reason for it. And I have a memory of one day being with his daughter, Kay, who was my age, and we were in the shop. I think it was the first time I was ever in that shop. And there was this big, beautiful black man in there. And he was on the phone and he was ordering a phone he was a rook. Obviously, you figured a big black man in Green Bay.
He had to be at that time had to be a Green Bay Packer.
He was a Packer. That's a given. And because he was ordering a phone, he was probably a rookie, right? So he's on the phone and he's saying, here's what I'll never forget because it was so funny. Because he winked at Kay and me when he said it. He said, "Yeah, that sounds, yeah, right. I'd like a black princess." Dude, now you have to be a certain age. They were called princess phones.
Was this Herb Adderley?
No, it was not Herb Adderley. It was Marv Fleming, number 81,
the
who
other
was a
gorgeous
tight
one.
end. I'd love a black princess. And their princess phones were a sleeker model than the old, the old kind of phone.
Clumpy, yeah.
Thing. So I have that memory. Anyway, out of the blue, somehow, Kay, the daughter, her email pops onto mine a few days ago. And it had to do with the fact that our high school class, instead of having a 60th reunion in 2 years, is apparently having a 59th. What? Next year. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Maybe I'm
going to my 55th on the 14th.
Okay, they think we're all terminally ill or something. I don't know. But so I got in touch with Kay. I said, "Kay, how you doing? Nice to see your, blah blah blah. You go to that." And she wrote back and said, I made Aliyah 14 years ago with my then 83-year-old mother. That means she picked up and moved to Israel. And she said, "I'm living here now with a growing family and, things are, very nice and blah, 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 blah." And then I told her, I said, "Oh, it's just wonderful to reconnect. Love to hear from you." And so we went back and forth a little bit. And then I got this today. And Susan, I want to read this to you. It was 1971, September, just before the high holidays, when my father died in a Milwaukee hospital, hours after supposedly successful heart bypass surgery. Several Green Bay Packers had come to the hospital to give blood for him. His funeral was announced on radio and television, and there was a huge crowd at the cemetery. Heartbroken and suffering shock as I was, because my dad was invincible, I couldn't help but be amazed at the number of people that were present. It was as though he were mayor or some other dignitary. I had no idea the impact that my father had had on so many lives. People were weeping. The rabbi was choked up. He could barely speak. After the burial, we went home to sit Shiva. There were so many people we couldn't move. I was sitting on the low stone front of a fireplace when a man came over to speak to me, to comfort me. I don't think I'd ever spoken to him before, but I knew he was your father. He actually sat next to me at that low seating, difficult because he was so tall. He talked to me with openness that one doesn't expect from a stranger. He stayed next to me for a long time, speaking in such a way that I was distracted from my pain. People came over to us and gave words of comfort to me, and your father stayed next to me. I remember his voice, like soft pedaled chords on an old grand piano. I remain grateful to him.
Well, I'm crying.
Okay, of course you are. Is that not the most beautiful thing?
Do you know that I hear stories like that about Dad all the time? And I just, folks, he was not, I don't remember him that way as my dad. I mean, I loved him very much, but that's not, he was in many ways a far better, loving and encouraging father to our friends and acquaintances than he was to us. And it's just amazing. This is not the first time I've heard this story or stories like this about Dad.
But it was such a gift because, we both, Kay and I, were both blessed with wonderful fathers, obviously.
Well, and Dad, to help explain this, Dad lost both of his parents before he was 18. And I think that the death of his father affected him so profoundly that he had something to offer Kay then.
Yeah. So, guys, that's it. Ending on, I mean, it's a sad but wonderful note, I thought. And thanks, Sue.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sitting here with tears dripping down my face.
Well, that's okay. Those are good tears. Those are good tears.
Yeah.
I think.
See, there are good white men.
Okay. So, Sue, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
All righty, guys. That does another one. And I'll be back tomorrow. And unlike the way I was before I went on my little vacation, I'll be looking forward to it. So have a good one and, stay reasonably dry, I guess.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.